Good morning. For the first day in a long time. Don't feel like watching from the sidelines.
Welcome to the Core Conversations podcast by Ampelis, where our goal is to help you fuel, use, and rest your bodies in ways that unlock its innate abilities for physical and mental health. My name is Robbie Harmon, and I'll be your host. Welcome to another episode of Core Conversations, where our goal is to help people fuel, use, and rest their bodies in ways that unlock its innate abilities for physical and mental health. We're excited today for what I think is going to be a really interesting conversation with Sarah Bega. Well, I'll introduce Sarah and our topic here. But our topic today is going to be all about the nutritional supplement space and, how are supplements created? What's the process for ensuring they're good quality? What do you look for that's good? What do you look for that's bad? All of these questions that I, frankly, a year ago knew nothing about and learned a lot about, prior to meeting Sarah, but then since meeting Sarah, just really learned a lot more because she's been such a tremendous resource and help as we've gone down the path of creating our own product, which is Core 7. And so wanted to bring Sarah in because she's helped us learn so much. We thought it would be a really relevant conversation for people who are interested in this space and topic of nutrition and supplementation. So Sarah Bega, welcome. So grateful that you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction.
Sarah is, as I said, we've teased Sarah as we've gone and created our website and stuff. We said we're going to name our AI chatbot after Sarah because she just has all the answers. But Sarah's background is interesting. It comes from a sales and a marketing background. Grew up in I don't know if you grew up in the Bay Area or
born and raised in the Bay Area. Yes.
San Jose State and so forth. And had a sales and marketing career, but spent I don't know how long now you've been in the supplement space, nutritional supplement space.
Over 7 years. And that's as a professional, but personally speaking, I was an athlete all through high school and college. So I've dabbled in nutrition and supplementation from 13 on and healthy eating and things like that. So it's always been a part of my life. But professionally, I took that jump about 7, almost 8 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. And it's amazing that, if you talk to Sarah, you feel like you're talking to somebody who spent like 70 years in this space because she's just got so much knowledge.
I'm a perfectionist by nature. So a lot of that had to do with when I made the jump into any industry, I want to understand what I'm selling, the individual components or raw ingredients, the synergy, but also it was a passion of myself. Human health, mental health, physical wellness, all that is very important to me and I'm very passionate about it. So it just felt natural. And also I had the chance to work with a lot of amazing people in the industry, which just encouraged me to learn more.
Really accelerated some of your learning.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so currently you work for a company called Health Genesis that's headquartered in Florida.
Yep.
And the connection that we made to you was we had spent, 6 months or whatever really researching and trying to understand, meet with different contract manufacturers, trying to figure out if we should white label a product, if we should just recommend a great product that already existed, or if we should formulate one. And Sarah, when we met Sarah, it was like our whole process was just accelerated because she's helped us both from a formulation standpoint and then also a contract manufacturing standpoint, knowing how to source everything and put it together and bring this, we hope is going to be a really impactful product to market. So, anything else about your background that you think we should set here as a foundation?
Again, so coming from Health Genesis, I'm the director, so I'm in charge of sales and marketing, formulation. I work very closely with R&D as well as with compliance, but being in the industry, not just for as long as what I had, but as well versed as what I am in the industry with all the contacts that I have. One great thing is, as you've experienced, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to go find the answer from someone in the industry that's an expert where I'm not. So that's one of the great things. And also, I just love working for a company that allows us to be so transparent and collaborative with brands. A lot of times you don't get that as a contract manufacturer. For a brand to have that much support and transparency is what we've been able to extend to your brand. And I think that that's probably what is a key contributing factor to what's going to make it such a great product when it does hit market.
Well, so most people, I'm guessing, even people that are very focused on nutrition and health and lifestyle, like health factors, which we have been as a company and personally have been, I knew nothing about how this whole process works. So maybe I would love for you just maybe go a little bit deeper as we start about what is it that you do? A client comes to you and says, "Hey, I have this great idea."
Yes.
Like, how does that process work?
So there's a couple different avenues in that, and it all starts with a great idea or I've had a bad experience.
Yeah.
It's one of the two. I have a great idea or I've had a bad experience and I never want to have that again. So as a contract manufacturer or even to niche ourselves a little bit further, as Health Genesis, we really create a partnership with the brands and understand what you want to achieve, what you don't want to achieve, right? And then also, it's our due diligence to educate you throughout the process about ingredients, quality control, FDA requirements, certifications, sourcing, transparency. So it's more of an educational journey for the brands that work with us, from concept to actual production and the distribution of their final finished product. And as of this point over my career, I have close to about 6,000 formulas that I've helped put out on the market.
It's amazing.
Personally, yeah.
It's amazing. And knowing what we've gone through over the last, it's probably been like 9 months or so. I can't remember how long it's been since we met you.
It's about 7 months, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 7 months.
I mean, just seeing the amount of work and different relationships and how many moving parts you're trying to coordinate and organize. It's a huge process that you're managing.
Yeah. So a formula as complex as yours is not an easy walk in the park. It's a very synergistically driven formula that has layers to it, from both a production standpoint as well as a formulation standpoint. So it definitely has been a challenge. I think we're at 54 ingredients right now. But again, it's very intensive because you have to look at it individually as well as collectively to make sure that you're doing a holistic approach to it.
Yeah. Well, what I'd love to do, I would love to get just some general conversation about the industry, leverage some of your insights that I think people will find really interesting, and then maybe round it out towards the end with some stories and also some details about what the process has been like specific to this product that we've been working on at Ampelis with Core 7. So maybe anything else about your background, like, what was it? So you're in marketing, you're a marketing and sales professional. You ultimately decided to get into this space. Maybe just say a little bit more about what that looked like and how you decided this is where I want to really lean in.
So I was in consumer electronics, and I loved the innovation behind consumer electronics for sales and marketing. I have an executive MBA in market analytics from Santa Clara, and I've never been one to just sit on the side and stay strict to one role, right? So I love wearing multiple hats. I love understanding the why and the how behind everything that I do, regardless of if it's in my lane or not. So when COVID came around, I was getting burnt out of the consumer electronics. It's a very aggressive, and I'd been in that industry for a long time, even with the same company. And it's very rare in sales and marketing to have a tenure of that long without dating myself. So I had an opportunity to jump into the nutritional side, and I was like, it's not going to be that hard. It's supplements, and I know supplements. I can do this. Well, after a week, I had my butt thoroughly kicked by the industry, and then spent the next year and a half just diving in with all of my free time into ingredients, into formulas, bugging my R&D team, bugging my quality control, bugging at that time, the vice president of operations. His name is David Luke, just in his office every day, asking as many questions as possible, deep diving myself. And mind you, this is before Chat GPT or any of the AI script came out. So you were literally rolling your sleeves up and deep diving into everything that you possibly can and asking those challenging questions. One thing is in my favor is that I will always ask why. I won't stop. I want to know why, and I will push and push and push. And that helped me. And then, of course, meeting people in the industry that allowed me to continue to ask those why questions and enjoyed teaching other people in the industry, So it was a great experience, but it did definitely, that first week took me by surprise, going, I don't know as much as what I thought I did. In fact, I feel like I know zero. To today, at least, I'm not the most educated person in the world in terms of supplements, and I won't ever attest to that. There are far more industry experts, but I'm confident because I know the resources that I need to get the correct answer in order to make every formulation the best that it possibly can be.
When you've put in the work and it seems like you've built the relationship such that, at least for us coming to you, it's like, man, we have received so much more transparency and insight and understanding about why. If we had a question or about a specific ingredient or source, you got us, if you didn't know off the top of your head, very quickly,
Yep.
you would tell us, you'd figure it out.
The network in the nutraceutical industry is equally as important as a brand, a manufacturer, or a formula. The network gives you that transparency and that support. That one person, there's just no one person that can answer everything. It doesn't happen that way. Everybody has unique specialties and expertise that you have to rely on and leverage. And again, I'm thankful enough to work for a company like Health Genesis that really allows me to bring that level of transparency to the brands that I work with and partner with people in the industry that really want to have that level of transparency and allow those conversations to actually go forward, whether it be with the raw material suppliers, vendors, different certifying bodies. It's just opening that up because your contract manufacturer should be your number one partner by bringing other people to the table to help you get those answers versus putting up walls.
It's interesting that you were talking about this, because one of the things that caused us to say Sarah and Health Genesis those are our people. We had spent, like I said, I don't know, 6 to 9 months or something before we connected with you, meeting with different CMOs, figuring out if there were existing products to recommend that we felt great about, or if there were products we could white label. And what we found was a lot of the brands that we talked about white labeling, even the ones that we were really impressed with, we would push and say, well, tell us how much of turmeric or ashwagandha is in that blend. Yeah. And then they're like, actually, we don't know. And we're like, what? You don't know how much is in your product? And they're like, well, they won't tell us because it's part of this blend that we purchased. And there's a lot of this kind of like people trying to protect stuff and hide stuff because that's their IP. And
yeah. And so I know that you will have a question about this in a little bit in terms of proprietary blends and the value or harm that it can do. What I will tell you is that the conversation and transparency that a manufacturer can provide to the brands is going to determine the success of the brands. Because if the brand doesn't understand the manufacturing process, the ingredients, the whole story, how are you actually going to communicate that to your consumers? Right. So that's kind of why at Health Genesis, we just said, you know what, if we're going to lose your business, it's because we deserve to lose your business because we've done something wrong, not because we're holding the cards too close to our chest, right? We keep preaching that we're a partnership. We want to be collaborative. Well, that means transparency, right? So that's just kind of our path of where we're on our island, kind of going, that's us. And it works for some people and it doesn't work for others, but
it's been so appreciated. Because I mean, legitimately, I think there are two triggering events that caused us to say we need to create our own, and we need to do it with somebody who can really help us know everything about it. Because one was somebody asked us a question about a product that we recommended and said, how much of this particular ingredient's in there? And we'll say, we'll find out. We're going to ask this brand. And then we asked the brand and they didn't know. And the other one was about flavoring. Somebody asked a question about, they put this natural flavor or whatever they put on the label. They said, what did they use for the flavoring? And then we asked the company and they said, oh, the flavoring company actually wouldn't tell us.
They wouldn't release because of the coding and the naming of it. Yeah. So again, it comes down to transparency, and all of the people that I work with, from raw ingredients supplied even to the flavor houses that that you've had experience with, they understand the importance of transparency, and the brands that Health Genesis manufactures for and the brands that I help support with formulation, they understand that if they're going to work with Health Genesis, they need to be equally as transparent with those brands. And you've seen that as they're more than willing to be a resource to answer any questions, even if it's not about their ingredient, right? They just want to see everybody be successful and put things on the market that are actually going to benefit consumers versus good luck marketing that. And we'll tell you 5% of what's in your formula.
Yeah. It's hard to throw your heart and soul and money behind something like that when it's like, I kind of know what it is, but I kind of don't.
Or just trust. You have to just rely on trust, but there's nothing there that you can fall back on. There is no transparency. So there's no building that trust bridge.
Right.
It just is, hey, just the fall exercise. Blindly fall and hope that we catch you, right?
Right. So maybe let's go to, of course, we're proud of the work you've done for us, and we think it's amazing, and the product that we're creating. And you work with a lot of other clients. So I want to be careful in all of this conversation. I don't want to disparage any other products or things that people do, but there are good things and bad things. There's good products and bad products in the industry. And I would love to just get your your kind of general guidance on, as people look at supplement products,
Yes.
what are things they should look for and what are things they should avoid? Just general conversation and guidance.
Yeah. So again, you're going to hear me say it over and over again, transparency,
Mm.
right? Transparency is critical. You want to be able to pick up a supplement and, as a consumer, read and understand the nutritional facts panel or the supplement facts panel. If you can't understand it or know what you're reading and there's no explanation and there's no resources, my advice is stay away from it.
Hmm.
Right? That means that something is going to make you uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable taking a supplement, your stress and anxiety are going to naturally push down those benefits of that supplement. So transparency is number one. I encourage brands to be very transparent.
Hmm.
Now, getting to the concept of proprietary blends. The reality is proprietary blends are good and bad. From a brand perspective, this is a very aggressive industry. Brands get copied all of the time, and there's nothing you can really do to prevent that. Even if you wanted to go and trademark or patent it, you're talking 7 years, and by then you have to reformulate anyway. So proprietary blends when done correctly are actually what help protect brands' IP. Um, on the flip side, it lacks in transparency to consumers. So, unless you have an educational platform that helps educate consumers on your proprietary blend and why it is considered a proprietary blend, then you're kind of missing the gap because we're telling
Interesting.
consumers two different stories. One is ask for transparency, be able to understand what you're taking, know exactly how much you're taking of each. But on the flip side, brands go, I've invested all of this money and I need to protect it from somebody else just duplicating the exact formula. So it's a double-edged sword. And again, my advice to brands is the way you get around that is be open and honest and transparent with conversations with people, consumers that are interested in your brand, educate them on it. And you can create proprietary blends without having to completely be artificial in it or
Mm.
lack transparency on the supplement facts panel.
Yeah, because what are some of the games people play with those blends? Because there's
So
some.
proprietary blends, the way a proprietary blend is put up is it goes in order of the input. So the most all the way to the least.
So you see the fact panel on the right hand side. You're going to see this,
Like 7
digestive
ingredients.
blend, and there's going to be a list of ingredients there.
Yes, and then it'll say the whole blend is 600 milligrams.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if the one ingredient or the two ingredients that really make an impact to that digestive blend is on the last two spots, you don't know if it has as low as 0.05 milligrams.
To just be sprinkled in there so they could
It's
put
a
the word in
sprinkle to
there.
put it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is where, having transparency with what your proprietary blend looks like a guarantee of no less than X milligrams per ingredient. So they at least can go, okay, the worst I'm getting is this minimal amount of this last ingredient. But also educate why you have it in a proprietary blend, not necessarily for transparency, but you want them to understand that this proprietary blend, the synergy behind those ingredients is actually what the benefit of that blend is called.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And that was one of the other things that for me was a big deal as we started learning about this space. And I mean, I took AG1 as a product for
Yep.
years and I liked it. But then I started learning about it. And again, I don't want to disparage any of their products, but there's certain things in there where it's like, oh, I think that's just like a trace amount of that. So it's in a label and it's hidden in a blend, but I don't think there's an effective amount of all 100 and whatever ingredients. And so, but like having my eyes open to that game that people play where they advertise all these ingredients and then I
Yeah.
have to figure out, well, like, how can I tell how much of it's really in there? That was really frustrating to me as a consumer.
And consumers also, they don't think that it's in there by a weighted scale, right?
Yeah.
They think, 630 milligrams equally proportionate.
Right.
Well, it's not. It also becomes a costing game, right? So when you're formulating and you have to look at budget, you end up using the least amount of the most expensive ingredient. And sometimes that most expensive ingredient is actually the most beneficial one in the
Most
blend.
important one.
Yeah.
If you had the appropriate dose of it. Yeah.
And it comes down to the appropriate dose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It's been an interesting thing to learn about how some of the gamesmanship works and the marketing of some of these different products and what they have and what they don't have, and trying to discern that as a consumer is confusing. It's really
Yes. Not all
confusing.
ingredients are the same.
Yeah.
And you do have to understand what the ingredients are that you're looking for and understand that there are differences in ingredients. Like magnesium is great. There's 7 different types of magnesium that are popular on the market. Each one serves a different purpose. But then there's elemental values of magnesium. And if it
Mm.
goes above a certain purity, then it's considered a glycinate or bis, which is binded onto two magnesium salts, or it could be spiked with oxide, and oxide is less bioavailable. So it comes in, there's a lot of science between ingredients, but step one starts with transparency on the supplement facts panel, and education is step two. It's very important not only to educate the brands, but for the brands to be able to educate consumers.
So in my experience and in some of the people that we've worked with in our addiction recovery work or other places, I've had some supplements that I've taken and certain times when I feel like that really made a difference. I feel more energy, I feel more
Hmm.
whatever. And then there's been other times when it's like, I thought I was supposed to experience this and I haven't. I'd love maybe just a reflection on that. Some people take supplements, sometimes they notice a difference, and some of the critics of the industry will say like it all just passes through your system and urine, or you're not really getting any benefit from it. You're wasting your money.
Yeah, so that's a double-edged sword. There's
Yeah.
in nutraceuticals, in any type of natural supplementation, it's always a double-edged sword.
Mm.
One comes down to the ingredients, right? What you're using on an individual level plus on a synergistic level for the formulas. So first of all, are the ingredients bioavailable? That means will your body absorb what you're putting into it,
Mm.
right? Are they pure? Do they have a high level of potency? Are they free of any contaminants on an individual level? And then synergistically, how the formula looks together. Do all of the ingredients actually work well for net positive versus a net negative? And this was something we experienced with your formula. More
Right.
is not always better.
Right.
It's the optimal amount or the efficiency amount, the effective amount for the entire formula, not just ingredient by ingredient, because then you're going to be leaving things on the table, or you could be over formulating and eliminating the benefit of that formula itself. So more is not always better, right?
Hmm.
And less is more is not always better either. It has to be that right balance. So I would say that is definitely going to be one of the number one factors with what you're looking at for why it works or why it doesn't work. The second factor is the human body.
Hmm.
Okay. Everybody is different. Every biological human, your body will absorb things different than your even twin brother or twin sister, right?
Hmm.
It's different. The gut axis, brain axis parallel is amazing. The gut determines a lot of what the body can absorb, right? And the deficiencies in terms of why is this not working for me? But my neighbor told me it worked amazing for
For them,
her, and
yeah.
and I'm experiencing the same symptoms. Well, the challenge is that you might be experiencing the same symptoms, but the root cause is different, right? So it's really getting down and understanding the root cause. And the trend that we're seeing in the industry right now is brands building formulas around addressing root causes and not symptoms.
Hmm.
Symptoms are just they show up differently for this same root cause, or similar for a
Others,
different
yeah.
root cause, right? So it really is a very complex area to kind of navigate. So I would say that those are going to be the ones that you have to consider is that do you know what your root cause is
Hmm.
as a consumer? Brands, you know
For example, like, somebody might be low energy because they're vitamin D deficient, or somebody else might be low energy because of they haven't been sleeping or whatever, you know?
Yes, but the vitamin D deficiency, is that because of an absorption issue?
Yeah.
Is that because of a gut issue? Or an
Yeah.
inability to actually absorb, or a lack of properly intaking vitamin D?
Right.
So it doesn't just stop with that is not the root cause. The root
There's
cause is
layers.
why is there a deficiency in vitamin D?
Right.
Not that I have one. That's a
Not that
symptom.
my blood test said I'm deficient.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Which makes it makes it hard, right? For consumers to say, like, where do I go and what should I use? And it's very personal, is my takeaway from that comment. It's there's like you have to somehow discern and develop what you trust in terms of
Yes.
quality and research, but then it becomes a very personal thing to say, like, what works for me and how do I figure that out and what are the root causes?
Yes. What works for you is not going to work the same way for the next person or the
Yeah.
next person or the next person. What you need to start, the industry itself is starting to trend towards, they say it's personalization,
Yeah.
personalized supplementation. I see it differently. I see it more that the industry is starting to address root causes. And when
Interesting.
you can start to address and formulate to resolve root causes, then your formula will be able to be better suited for more people to take it, because then it's more personalized because they're addressing their root cause and not a symptom that you don't know if you're actually taking the correct formula to address.
That makes so much sense.
So I would say for consumers, start to dig in and ask the hard questions why. So don't just stop with the doctor says I have a vitamin D deficiency. or I'm low of energy. Go through the checklist. Why am I low of energy? Am I eating a proper diet? Am I getting enough sleep and exercise? What am I doing on a non-supplementation basis?
Right.
And then look at supplementation as a secondary line of defense to help get you back to the whole that you should be, the holistic approach.
I love that. Yeah, it's interesting. We personalized medicine has been a thing for a while, and it's
Hmm.
been something the industry's been chasing, saying we need to get more and more personalized in whether it's cancer treatment protocols or other things. And we looked at that in our mental health clinics where we've been big proponents of sleep and nutrition and movement and exercise. And for a while, we really looked hard at should we have everybody who comes into the clinic do blood work? And we still think there's value in that. That's still important. We might do that for a lot of people. However, because then we could give them like this very specific supplementation protocol. But what we were finding was like, man, like 80 to 90% of these people, they have the same deficiencies in their supplementation. And so we said we can either charge them a bunch of money to do this blood work and tell them something that 80% of the time we're going to get right by just looking symptomatically at what they're dealing with.
Hmm.
So our task was saying, how can we create something that will address enough of what are the most common root cause issues? And
Yeah.
that's what motivated us to say, how can we make something where we don't have to have people go through this really complex process of getting blood work and stuff to know this is going to help get me most of the way there for most of the people.
A lot of brands, and you guys are very intelligent by doing this, is you actually create a kind of a level setting formulation,
Yeah.
which is let's at least get you to status quo,
Yeah.
right? Like let's get you to a baseline level. And then from there, you can look at this is my base. Now, what other deficiencies am I still experiencing and supplement up? So then you're looking at synergistic portfolio supplementation versus having 50 supplements in your medicine cabinet, and use 3 of them because you get frustrated at having to take 50 pills to
Yeah.
address a problem that you're not quite sure if that's the problem or not. So again, it's the same questions. It's asking why, creating a baseline, identifying and analyzing your lifestyle.
Hmm.
Am I eating right? Am I exercising? Is my stress overloaded? Why do I think I'm deficient in this? And do some research, reach out to a nutritionalist, reach out to your doctor. Ask them the hard questions and they will ask you in return equally as hard questions. Have that hard conversation and real look internally and go, why am I this way? What do I think is causing it? What am I doing or not doing that's also adding to that? And so then when you go to look for a solution or a supplement, and supplements are not solutions, they're supplemental, right?
Yeah.
To what you should be doing. They're
Yep.
designed to be supportive. What support can a supplement offer you to help you get back up to your A game?
I love that mindset too. Yeah. The supplements are not meant to replace a good, healthy diet. And it's not meant to make up for the fact that you don't exercise. It's meant to supplement those things because it's really hard to get all that you need, even when you do have a really disciplined diet and so forth.
Yes.
So you've mentioned a couple trends like this movement in the industry towards addressing root causes. You've mentioned a couple other things, but I'd love to hear your reflections on some of the more interesting or exciting trends that you're being exposed to as you're helping
So,
clients.
trending topics right now are definitely going to be nootropics, adaptogens, mushrooms is very large, and then large categories like menopause, right?
Interesting.
Multi symptom categories are trending very high. Um, I I find that there's a lot of consumer confusion with those just because there's so many complexities with each one of these trends, right? Does it actually work? Is it just a trending topic? And are you looking at the right ingredients? There's a lot of mushrooms. Which one should you take will depend on what your root cause is and what you're trying to supplement your deficiency or get you to that A plus you that you want to be. So consumer education is going to be the key if the trend is going to be successful or not, but the right consumer education.
Hmm.
If you're looking at any trending education where it is a quick, this got me from a size 15 to a size 2 in 3 weeks. That doesn't necessarily happen. And if it does, it's not healthy.
Hmm.
So when you are watching these trends, watch for healthy habit trends, is what I like to call them, where it's telling you this works because it's creating a healthy habit for me.
Hmm.
And that healthy habit is sustainable versus a quick, I got from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. That's not sustainable. Even for your car, it's not sustainable for you as a human. So look for healthy habits that are sustainable for the human body, also for your mental well being. Because if you're expecting immediate results of such a dramatic gauge, you are going to have more stress and anxiety. And with higher stress and anxiety, your body is going to be less open to actually receiving
Some of the benefits.
of the formulations.
You mentioned that. I mean, the thing that came to mind as you were talking about that is GLP-1, this craze. And there's probably some great things. GLP-1s, it's pretty amazing, all the different ways they're being used. But what is the nutritional supplements response to or synergy with
It's kind of
GLP-1
all over the
use?
place.
Yeah.
It is all over the place. So we have some ones that are designed, that are creating supplements to help boost the GLP-1 medication that you're receiving, which is just an additional boost. We have some that are helping replace nutrient loss and muscle mass density.
Because you're basically just not eating as much as your body
Yeah.
needs.
And it's not a targeted weight loss approach with a lot of the GLP-1 medication out there. But again, it depends on the human body and how the human body reacts to it. So the supplement industry right now is kind of across the board with what they're looking at and the options that they're putting out. The FDA is in the middle of, I'm not quite sure how I want to fall on that one. With any type of thing where you're looking at, if you're taking a medication and you're looking at supplementation, ask a doctor. Ask your doctor, get medical advice. It is very important because even at a supplement level, a supplementation can impact medication, and GLP-1 is designed to be a medication. So if you want it to be synergistic in a positive way, a net positive, get the approval of your medical doctor and be able to make your selections from there.
So if you had, I mean, these are some things that are happening right now. If you had a crystal ball and could look beyond the horizon a little bit, what do you think is going to be the next big area of innovation? Or maybe you're already seeing signs of it, but where do you think there's going to be more focus and innovation in the future in this space?
So innovation with ingredients is always there. And that's just making the ingredients better and better and better. I think it's going to be innovation within the growth of a lot of these ingredients. So you have regenerative growth versus organic. Which one is better for the human body, for the natural supplements that occur in the botanicals? Which one's better for the world? And then as science dives into a lot of these areas, the same ingredient, saffron, we're doing clinical studies on it, and it could have more benefits than what we realized with. So then you're starting to look at, again, more root cause formulations and transparencies, as well as one of the biggest trends I'm personally excited about is educating brands and consumers, because then they're formulating with a purpose in mind and not formulating against a trend.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. And that's really interesting. Just what you said, that going down the supply chain, maybe it's not the innovation of the final, like so much around here, we're addressing new topics, but it's saying we've got this supply chain and we're figuring out how to make it go farther, how to make it higher quality, and understanding the utility of all these different things that we have at our fingertips. And where and how to use them better.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. You mentioned the word bioavailability.
Yes.
And you just said in one sentence earlier what that means, but that's a term that gets thrown out a lot as people talk about this supplement's good and that supplement's bad. But I'd love just your education for us on that term, what it means, and what are the factors that really contribute to it.
So bioavailability basically refers to how the human body can absorb that supplement, whether individually on an ingredient level or synergistically. It's very important, but things that affect bioavailability is the potency of the ingredient, the form of the ingredient, any fillers or flow agents that might be with that ingredient, and also how much you're putting in. At certain points, the human body can only take so much of an ingredient. So if you're over formulating, you're just adding unnecessary
5,000% of your daily value of this, that you might not use all of it.
100%. There's a lot of B vitamins where you will see that you're getting 5,000% of your B12s. Okay. Well, a methylated B12 is higher bioavailable than a cobalamin. So you're absorbing more of that. But at either rate, it doesn't mean that you should add more. It just means that your body is only going to absorb more of a certain amount of ingredient. And the rest you're just urinating out because it is that type of vitamin where you can expulse it out. On the flip side, there are other ones with over-formulating, but because of their bioavailability, you have to be careful. You could reach an upper safety limit.
Some toxicity issues.
And some toxicity issues with regards to that. So
how do people, as they're looking at different supplement products, and I want to ask about whole food based and synthetic based. That's been another thing we've been big on for us. But, how does somebody know? Like they look at a product and there's two on a shelf and you say, I've been told bioavailability matters. And how do you know like this one is good and this one's maybe less good?
So, natural or whole food based is always going to be more bioavailable. It has cofactors in it that help with the bioavailability and also the synergistic effects of other ingredients. Synthetic naturally are a little less bioavailable depending on what is actually done to the synthetic formulation of the vitamin or mineral. So I would say always kind of take a look at that. It's very hard for consumers to
To
understand and know,
discern.
but look for trusted brands, third party testing, certifications, things like that on a bottle and a label will actually help paint a picture for you of has it gone through the appropriate agencies to
Mm,
make sure that it's been manufactured in a GMP facility or an NSF certified facility. If the product is NSF certified or USP certified, is it does it have an upcycle? Is it non-GMO verified? Does it have the FDA? Is it in an FDA facility? All of these types of things, those manufacturers have to make sure that they're not allowing the manufacture of anything that could be toxic to the humans. We have a responsibility to do that. So even if the brand doesn't catch it, 90% of the time a manufacturer will be like, wait a second,
interesting.
we can't do it too much. That doesn't mean that it gets caught all the time, but with transparent partners, especially with manufacturers that are not in it for a money game, but they're really in it for a relationship game and the consumer and the brands will push back on you and say, I don't think that this is right. I think that we need to double check it, or your formula is not as bioavailable as what it could be. Do you want to look at other options to optimize your formula or to make sure that it's better for your brands? Because ultimately, it's going to come down to what consumers feel about your brand
Hmm.
and building that trust network.
So a couple things you mentioned. One is, and I want to come back to this one, the third party testing and some of those processes, but
Mhm.
there are going to be some indicators for people if they're saying which is a good product, which is maybe less good product. At
Yep.
least I can have a higher degree of confidence if I see certain stamps of approvals, different testing
Yep.
entities. So we'll come back to that and maybe understand what that process looks like.
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned was that I mentioned as well, whole food versus synthetic, and maybe you mentioned the word cofactors with some of the whole food based things
Yep.
that make the different ingredients that are active more bioavailable. Could you educate us a little bit about cofactors? Because this is for us again was a big turning point in what we were looking to recommend to patients.
Yeah. So cofactors are going to be the other. So take for instance, in spirulina, right? So spirulina has a lot of naturally occurring nutrients. It's very nutrient dense. The cofactors are the other elements of those naturally occurring vitamins that allow the body not to have to break through certain synthetic barriers in
Mm,
order to absorb those vitamins and minerals. And again, it creates a synergy with other ingredients. So you will see that a lot of plant based or some synthetic formulas, like a bisglycinate chelated, that's actually chemically reacted so that way it removes a lot of the synthetic barriers to allow the body to absorb it, even though it is a synthetic material.
interesting.
So it's going to come down to the brands understanding what they want to increase bioavailability in the formulation is going to fall on the brand shoulders. And the consumers have to trust the brands through the storytelling and through the transparency that the brands are willing to open up to the consumers. That's how it's really going to flow downstream.
One of the things that I'm trying to figure out the best way to help people with as they listen to this conversation or as on our website we put information out there and talk about the merits of
Yes.
whole food based supplements versus synthetic supplements for some of these cofactors, trying to equip them so they can look at a product and really discern and get beyond, a product that might market itself as all natural. And is that the same thing as whole food based or not? Or, how do they
It
look at a label and say, oh, that is a whole food ingredient on that supplement fact panel or in the description, or a product that is mostly whole food based versus synthetic? Do you have any tips or tricks?
So for a consumer, it's going to be relatively hard. Typically, if it is a whole food based or if it is all natural, you will see it advertised on the
On the
label.
label.
FDA allows that. For label compliance reviews with most manufacturers, if it is not whole food or naturally occurring, they will not allow you to put that on their label. So you have to trust the manufacturer that you're working with. but also ask for those COAs, certificate of analysis, ask for the raw materials, the transparency, the traceability of that ingredient,
Mm.
which is where the transparency and partnership comes in on a manufacturing level. And then you have to trust from a consumer that the brand is going to be confident enough to extend that transparency to them in return.
So it's largely, I mean, so much of it from a consumer standpoint seems like it's developing trust in a brand through all the whatever that brand does to give you information to help you see
Yep.
what they're trying to do. Yeah, that's
It's like I said, it's a trust exercise.
Yeah.
Supplementation and the nutraceutical industry is a big trust exercise, and it's getting better. The transparency is improving because through transparency and collaboration, we're going to put better things on the market, right? And so that just has to continue to filter down. There has to be a better job of educating brands so brands can educate their consumers so they can create that culture of transparency and trust, not only on their own brand level, but holistically throughout the whole industry.
one of the things that I've picked up on, that just because it was a simple one for me as a little trick as a consumer, is as I look at a panel, I'm like, okay, is this synthetic? Are these synthetically derived vitamins panel, a vitamin panel, or is it a whole food derived vitamin panel? I always look at vitamin C because I can see, is it from ascorbic acid, or is it from an acerola cherry or whatever, which would have all the cofactors and what.
Yes.
So I look for little things like that just an indicator that tells me I'm on the right path or not.
100%. You definitely can look at the supplement facts panel and the source that it's derived from.
Mm.
And that works very well for certain things like vitamin C or vitamin D or vitamin E.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you get to other complex things like minerals, it's very hard to tell if it's from naturally occurring or synthetic, because it's not as easy and transparent to read.
Which
So
then it gets back to that trust factor. It's like, I just have to, I have to find a brand that I trust, and there's enough transparency that I feel like
yeah.
what they say is true.
And the great thing is as consumers, brands love educating their consumers. I would say if you have a question, reach out and ask. Ask and encourage that brand to be transparent with you. Start the conversation. It doesn't make a difference where you're at in the supply chain, whether you are a raw ingredient supplier or the end consumer. Don't be afraid to ask the questions because you deserve those answers. You are putting it in your body.
So helpful. And it's a tricky thing. Like I imagine people are going to listen to this and be like, I want to go find the ones that are whole food based. And then they're going to go to the store and look at them like, I can't tell.
Yeah.
This one says natural and this one says organic.
It's not saying that synthetic is not good for you.
There's good things.
There are amazing things with synthetics, especially some scientifically studied ones. They're definitely amazing things. Again, some synthetics could be highly bioavailable,
right? Because
that's the only form that it can. But other form factors, you need to know that it is going to be better if it is coming from whole food based. And then you're now asking the question of, okay, whole food versus organic, regenerative versus organic, what is the right choice?
Right.
That's not a short question to answer in any which way, shape, or form. It'd probably take a couple hours. And for that, I would probably bring in a much better expert in the industry than myself to help you navigate the regenerative versus organic. But again, it's asking the question. Your body may be more receptive to synthetic supplementation than naturally occurring supplementation. It also comes down to listen to your body. When you take a supplement, listen to your body.
Pay attention to how it impacts you.
Pay attention to how it impacts you.
There's all these terms, regenerative, natural, whole food, synthetic, organic, whatever. Talk to us about that, because sometimes, I don't know that it's clear to everybody the difference between natural and organic, for example. And I'd love maybe the follow-on question be, in your opinion, how much does that like organic label matter in this space?
So, from an ingredient standpoint, natural means that it's naturally occurring element or a component of it. Again, like a fiber is naturally occurring in an inulin source, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's naturally occurring. Organic is going to be the growth process, free of pesticides or certain types of pesticides, and how it's actually manufactured or how it's grown. And then regenerative is actually the belief of, again, how it's grown, but it's more so focused on enriching the soil through regenerative growth on more of a larger scale area. So it's kind of, I don't want to say each one are trends, but each one hit a different area. Synthetic means that it is derived from a biotech location, right?
And it's somewhere in a lab. Yep.
Created somewhere in a lab. And it could be fermented, which is still a natural source or natural process, but it's not naturally occurring. It's fermented, which means it's been grown in a lab versus naturally occurring in the world.
Yep. And we ended up with a couple of those fermented
Yep.
products that it's keeping us from saying 100% of everything in our product is whole food based, because there were a couple things that we
Fermented
said
is better.
fermented was better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was hard for us, because at first we wanted everything to say whole food. It's like all of it.
Whole food, organic. Yeah. And again, when it comes down to ingredient selection, there is not a one hit wonder. This category is the best of everything. You really have to look at it individually as an ingredient, plus you're synergistically as your formula, and go, what's going to make the most sense?
Mhm.
Because again, when you're combining so many organics together, so many naturally occurring ingredients together, what is there synergistic
The
gaps?
interplay between them.
The interplay, yeah. Is there synergistic gaps that you need to address that a fermented ingredient, which in Core 7, it actually did impacted in a net positive. So we had to switch out some naturally occurring for some fermented, because it needed to keep that synergy and
Yeah.
increase that synergy.
It's such an interesting process. Like, I've learned so much about this process. So maybe sourcing. Tell us, before we get
Yes.
into like the project that we're doing, and maybe
Yeah.
I want to do a little myth busting conversation with you as well.
Sure.
But I would love to just the part of this whole process that has been amazing for me is seeing you source this thing. Like, we came and said, we want this,
Everything in the kitchen sink.
and we want it to
Yep.
be the best in the world. We want it to be organic. Like, that's overwhelming. And just the whole process of letting people see behind the curtain of how that works when somebody says,
Yeah.
I want a supplement product, and how does it get sourced?
So again, this is a global sourcing
Mhm.
formula, right? Yours is globally sourced. However, we look at the ingredients that you're looking at. We look at the regions, if there's region restrictions, things like that, where you don't want it to come from some countries, or you want it to come from some countries. And then we look at the supply chain there. Now, there are distributors in the supply chain that practice true transparency and traceability. And those ones are amazing to work with, because that allows us to be equally transparent and show our brands the traceability of each raw ingredient for the story.
Meaning you can go back from where it's in the warehouse to back to the farm it was grown, basically.
Back to the farm that it was grown, and sometimes even the sector on the farm that it was grown. So it doesn't have to necessarily come from a major brand. A lot of these distributors, they actually work very well to control those things and give you that traceability. So there's a lot of great people in the industry. Then, of course, they're working with branded ingredients, or organic, like certain growers of it in certain regions. It's all going to come down to what the formula looks for. But the key thing is to make sure that the supply chain itself has traceability. Because if it has traceability, then you can be confident in the potency, the purity, like all of the claims that you want to make, what you want the formula to become. It comes down to traceability and transparency.
The thing that's been so amazing to me, we came and we said, here's kind of our criteria for
Yeah.
the ingredient. We knew a lot of the ingredients we wanted, and we knew the impacts we wanted, and we knew some of the criteria we wanted the meat, whether it's whole food based, organic, or not from this place. We want some from that place. But it was amazing for me to even see you go to the next level, to be like, hey, by the way, this ingredient from this country is going to be less potent in your tasting than this ingredient from that same ingredient from another country. And it was complex, and it was really interesting to just see the thoughtfulness that went into.
Well, remember, naturally occurring ingredients, they're grown in the environment, right?
Yeah.
So you will have an impact of that environment on the soil where those are grown. It's naturally occurring. So you do have to take a lot of the climate into consideration, and also for future sourcing needs as well. Kind of what's the best soil right now will not be the best soil in 6 months when we're ready to actually have it processed, or reorders coming up. So you do need to take a lot of that into consideration. Well, I'd love to take credit for that. I actually rely a lot on my supply chain, and getting feedback from them. I know probably 10%, but I could increase that a lot, in terms of the intricacies of the growth patterns of the different climates, the microclimates, even on certain ingredients. And then the processing plants is another one. You can get the same ingredient from the same farm, go to 2 separate processing plants, and come up with different types of ingredient or different quality of ingredients.
Different chemicals are used for extraction, or different processes are used for extraction of the.
Or coating or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yep. The coating of the ingredients for solubility. That is another thing that you need to look at. So there are a lot of different things to consider on an ingredient level.
And so people come to you, and whether it's a complex formula like we've created, or a single formula, a single, ingredient product that somebody wants, and your task is to say, where can I get the best price, the highest quality? And it matters where it's grown. It matters the process, the
It's
plants
a
that it goes
matrix.
through. And it's just this,
Yeah.
it's
So
a complicated matrix that I don't think most people maybe appreciate. They just see the end product and there's so much
it's
that goes
not
into
as
that.
simple as sending an email out and saying, I want
Collagen.
magnesium or
Yeah.
I want collagen. Like that's not as simple as that, right? So you really do need to be able to dive into that supply chain again for that transparency, because for a manufacturer, we're looking at your future orders. And especially for something that gets flavored, sourcing becomes critical, because if you change the region, you're going to end up changing the flavor, right? And having an impact. So, supply chain consistency, stability, traceability, even down to the factory level is critical. And relying on your partners in industry is the only way we can really get it done, because it does take a village to create even a single ingredient formula. It
Yep.
takes a lot of people.
Lots of players are touching that.
Lots of players are touching it outside of your contract manufacturer. Then it goes into R&D, and will it pass R&D or will it not pass R&D? And then you get into the individual testing of all as you've experienced with
Right.
raw ingredients on
Right.
an individual plus the synergistic testing, the full panel testing. It becomes a very, very complex web that you need to keep an eye on at all times, a moving target. But again, it's going to come down to just understanding as a brand, what do you want this to be? And then as a manufacturer, going back and going, okay, does that make sense? Can we actually
we do
manufacture
that?
that? Can we do that? Should we advise them on other options or different alternatives that they want to look at, either for supply chain consistency, ingredient stability, bioavailability, or even region sourcing, and make those recommendations? So
What I hope people take away from this conversation is just the complexity of the process, particularly of getting some of these multi-ingredient products to market. There's a lot of places where people could take shortcuts,
yes,
and there's a lot of places where you could end up with something that's not ideal. And so to get it right is a really big job. And it takes a lot of time. Like you said, we've been working on this one formulation and getting it to market already for 7 months
yeah,
or so.
yeah.
And it's just that complex to get 50 plus ingredients from the right places and make sure they're sustainable sources. We have the right traceability, and then get it through testing in each individual ingredient that you mentioned. And then once you test the individual ingredients, putting them together and saying, now what does that what happens in the testing? And
Yes, yeah. And even in the R&D stage, which is when we do put those ingredients together to say what's going to happen on an ingredient level. Does it blend? Does it flow? Can you put it into flavoring? That doesn't mean that the potency and the actual results of everything are going to be as synergistic as the concept formulations. So it's constantly evolving as any formula moves through it. And so I would say that if you are looking at producing even a single ingredient, understand that you really want to have that full experience. You don't want me to go into my warehouse and pull a magnesium that I pulled for everybody else.
right.
You really want to understand why I chose that magnesium, at what elemental or say I chose it at for your formula or that you're specifying. Is it granular? Is it powder? Right? So what's it binded to? What filler and flow agents are we using? What types of capsule are we using? Where are the capsules sourced from? You want to know all of that so that way you have trust and confidence in your formula, and then you can take that down to your consumers and they can have trust and confidence.
Yeah. So it's not an easy thing.
No.
Yeah. So many layers. Okay.
Yes.
So I want to talk about Core 7 in this project.
Yes.
And particularly because you, as much as anybody on the planet Earth, has some real unique insights into the complexity of it and what's maybe unique about it
Mm-hmm.
and the process it's gone through. But I would love to maybe do a little tangent for a minute
Sure.
and just do some myth busting questions.
Okay.
Because you've started to answer some of them, but
Yes.
we'll do
The
this.
industry, the nutraceutical industry is full of myths, and it's hard to navigate fact or fiction. So.
Yes. Okay. So first one is, if I eat a healthy diet, I don't need supplements. Fact or fiction?
That is fiction. And the reason is that food grown today is not at the same nutrient rich level as what it was 20 years ago, right? You have changes in the environment, you have pollution, you have the additions that impact the soil. So if you're a vegan or a vegetarian or a carnivore, it doesn't make a difference. It's not the same quality as what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. That falls on us, on humans in the world. The other thing is that stress and triggers and the way that your body actually acclimates to the changes in the environment, pollution, and things like that are going to impact the nutrients, the natural nutrients that you put in through eating healthy. So, again, there is going to naturally be a gap. Now, finding out what your gap is and making sure you're choosing the right supplement or supplement program is going to be key to making sure that you feel A plus all the time.
Right. Okay. So even if you're eating what seems like the perfect diet, there's some external factors and that are influencing the quality of the foods we eat, and resulting in, most experts that I trust anyway are saying, even if you eat the perfect diet, you're just not getting everything you need because of the food supply chain and so forth.
Yes.
Okay. So next one, all supplements are basically the same, and the difference is mostly marketing.
No.
Okay.
Big fiction. All supplements are not created equal. Again, one that I like to go back to is magnesium. So everyone knows magnesium glycinate, right? It is very common out there. Well, you can look at a magnesium glycinate, magnesium bisglycinate, magnesium bisglycinate chelate, or just a magnesium bisglycinate that's spiked with oxide. Now, glycinate is the purest form, a single molecule. Bisglycinate is two molecules on a magnesium salt. Bisglycinate chelate is designed to be more absorbable, but it's two or more molecules on the magnesium salt. And bisglycinate spiked with oxide, well, you're not going to see that on your label that it's spiked with oxide, but it does have a higher elemental value, which is the amount that you can put into a capsule on a label. You won't know that unless you actually know the percentages. So it's kind of one of those shadowy areas in the industry. And manufacturers understand it. It's on COA's certificate of analysis of what it is, but the oxide is less bioavailable. So if you were to look at 3 magnesium supplements and they say one is 275 milligrams, one is 400 milligrams in 2 capsules, and one is 900 milligrams in 2 capsules, already throw the 900 milligrams out because you know that one's going to be spiked with oxide. Okay?
Interesting.
So use a gauge and understand that these have larger molecule sizes. And so not all is created equal, even if the label says it is equal. The only ones that would be created equal are private label ones that are actually the same exact formula with different labels.
And some of the things you've talked about earlier in this conversation, I think, highlight this perfectly already. So,
yeah.
Okay, so fiction on that one. How about more is better when it comes to vitamins and minerals?
More is not better. So there's a number of issues that you have to do when you're looking at vitamins and minerals. One is what the human body can safely take in for supplementation. There are upper safety limits. There's also toxicity risks on some vitamins and minerals, even on bioavailable. So more is not always better. Now, more is not always dangerous if you can excrete those excess vitamins and minerals and they don't do any damage to you. So it's one where it's a very fine line when it comes to that. It's making sure that you have the right amount. And even if it's not at a dangerous level, it could be at an uncomfortable level. It could create some gastrointestinal issues if it's uncomfortable and things like that. So I believe that the perfect amount, the adequate amount for the symptom you're trying to address is exactly what you need. Shouldn't be less, shouldn't be more.
So 5,000% is not always better than 2,000% or 100%. It depends on the situation. It depends on the source. It depends on a whole bunch of factors.
And it depends on the person taking it.
Yep.
So taking 5,000 milligrams of, say, a vitamin C is not going to make you feel any better than taking 2,000 milligrams of a vitamin C. The reality is that your body can only absorb so much vitamin C, and the rest of it goes by the wayside.
Right. And I guess the same would hold true in an ingredient panel, where it's like 80 ingredients is not always better than 30 ingredients. It depends on how much of the ingredient is there.
It depends on
what
the
they
formula
are.
and the synergy. Yes.
Yeah.
So more is not always better. If you're looking at something where, even with protein, right? So protein is kind of a race to the top in many respects, but the human body in its natural state doesn't necessarily need 20 to 30 grams of protein unless you're physically active at a much higher level than most other people. So looking at your needs, starting to understand exactly what you need, and then supplementing yourself to what you need based on, oh, it's more, so it has to be better.
Okay. I'm just going to go to this one. As long as it's third-party tested, I can rest assured it's high quality.
No. Third-party testing helps increase transparency. Okay, but the third-party lab is not responsible for the types of ingredients selected to go into that formula. they're responsible for verifying what goes into that formula is on what the supplement facts panel is. So if we say that this has a 20% zinc in it, the third party lab is going to independently confirm whether or not that material is 20%. Okay, or whether it's free of micros or heavy metals, or what those levels are so we can trust it. But it's not going to say that this is a better type of zinc. It's just confirming what is there.
So it's going to confirm the accuracy of the panel, the accuracy of what's on the label, and maybe safety. Is there like a safety?
It's going to, it'll confirm micro levels, which is micro growth levels.
Yep.
It'll confirm metals. It gives you transparency for the ingredient by ingredient. Now, it's a sticky situation to say that they're confirming what's on the label because the label is done through the quality control department and compliance department that use the testing results to create the supplement facts panel. So again, the lab is there to tell the manufacturer, to tell the brand, this is what's in it.
So
not relying on the supply chain.
So the third party, maybe is it an appropriate summary to say it's a good indication of safety, and it's but it's not necessarily an indication of superior quality.
Safety and accuracy, I would say.
Safety and accuracy.
But not of superior quality. They cannot determine the quality of the vitamin C from one form to the next. They can just confirm that the vitamin C has this much vitamin C in it.
And what labels, what little stamps or labels do you think are most helpful for people to look for on a label? You mentioned GMP, which is good manufacturing.
Yep.
NSF, you mentioned, I think those two.
Yeah, ISO is the ISO certified independent labs. ISO certified is a standard for FDA. They have certain ISO testing standards. That is going to be one. And then there is USP, which is another standard that you can do. So you want to look for any known standards. There are some brands out there that are creating their own little stamp or seal. Again, just like formulation, more is not always better. It's the right ones that you want to find on your bottle.
And knowing that, geez, I'm going to look and I'm going to see all of these have these same things. That doesn't mean they're all equal quality. That means that I can trust that it's safe and accurate description of what's there, maybe. And then
again, that's
quality is going to go deeper.
Quality is going to go deeper. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can just confirm that product was legally tested in an ISO certified lab.
Okay.
That's what that stamp will tell you. Such
an interesting thing to try to navigate as a consumer. Like, man, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get into our project, this Core 7 project, but I would love, before we do that, on all of these different conversations, we try to have, we call them little by little stories, just try to capture a story or two about somebody who's seen a positive impact in their life from, in this case, nutritional supplementation. But does anything come to mind, like any story or example that you've seen where, man, this project or this particular product really made a difference, whether it's in your own life or somebody you've seen?
So there are two. Personally, there's a family member who had a lot of brain fog, and trouble sleeping and things like that. Went to nutritionalists, went to doctors. His thyroid was off. Right. Tried to do a lot of different types of supplementation, and kept going, nothing's working. I just want to go on medication. And so I sat down, we got to the root cause of the symptoms, found the correct formula that aligned to the root cause of those symptoms. He's been on it for a year. His thyroid is doing great. His energy is back without needing to go on to medication, which is an at-risk to get off of.
Oh, so nice when you hear those stories.
Yeah.
People can avoid all the side effects and the long-term dependency on the medication and all that.
Exactly. So it's keeping off of a long-term dependency for supplementation, but that supplementation is also allowing him to, now that he knows what's in the formula, increase that naturally through his lifestyle and his diet. So to slowly get off of that supplement. But if he stays on it long-term, making sure that long-term supplement is not going to be of any danger or have any dangerous ingredients that they don't recommend to be on for a long term, because that's another consideration you do need to take into it. And then on a personal side, I've been able to formulate a couple menopause supplements so far, and hearing the feedback for the brands that I formulated it for, where women are just like, this is life-changing. Like, I've not had night sweats in 3 days.
It's amazing.
And I'm able to sleep and not wake up wanting to hurt somebody is phenomenal. And so just those little success stories that brands that I work with and help them formulate for come back and share with me it's a huge passion of mine. I love getting those stories. So
I just increasingly, the more I'm in this world, um, the more I hear stories and the more I read literature that just makes me realize, man, this is just an underutilized part of what we need in part of our healthcare conversation, which I think
yes,
is the awareness and, even,
it's the awareness and education.
yeah. And I think there's some good wind at our backs here that are helping us move in that direction. But
The demand for transparency is a big one right now. It's on consumers' minds. Consumers were 5 years ago afraid to ask questions and
mm,
afraid to push back. They just wanted something to cure during the COVID era. And now they're more cautious about what they're putting into their bodies. They want more education. They want to know why. And it's expensive. Nutraceuticals are not cheap.
yeah,
It's not a
I
cheap
I
alternative.
wish insurance paid for them more in
Yes.
a better way.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's talk, if we can, for a minute about Core 7. I'd love just your general reflections on this project. Like, it has been
Yes.
a behemoth, I think. How does
Yes.
yeah, tell us about this project and how it relates to kind of some of the other projects and what makes it unique.
So this project is very unique because a lot of other formulas that I personally worked on has been a what I would call a single layer formulation, where yours is a very complex multi-layering. So that means that we had to look at each area, formulate that individual, and then go back and look at how those individual formulas overlay and interact with each other,
Hmm.
which is about 7 to 8 different sections or subsections. And then you have to add in the individual ingredients for each one of those areas and looking at how those individual ingredients are going to impact other areas, and then synergistically how the whole formula is going to work together to get those accomplishments done. So I would say probably, and also looking at, taking into consideration healthy lifestyles
Mm,
and making sure that people who are wanting to go after a healthy lifestyle and are wanting the practice are good getting to the practice of eating healthy, how this formula would hurt or help them, because we always want it to be a net positive when we work with this. So taking into account what the average American diet is like, where an optimal American diet is like, and where a suboptimal American diet is like, all that information combined with the formula to get something across the finish line, or at least formulated across the finish line, is very important. And then the potency, the purity, the quality demanded of this project, it has caused, unfortunately, some setbacks because we won't allow, and I personally won't allow anything that is subpar to pass, which has set back the launch date a few
yeah,
times.
but we're grateful for that. We
Yeah.
want to make sure it's the best
So
quality.
yes, it is very, very quality intense, where you're talking multiple raw ingredient testings per ingredient. You're talking multiple blends and blend testings and reblending and looking at it at every step of the way. So it is extremely intense. We have a number of people working on it and reviewing it on a daily basis. But I would say it's probably one of the more rewarding formulas that I've had to work on, because it stretched me as a formulator, it stretched me in the industry, it stretched my team. I know it stretched you guys.
Yep.
But it's been very nice working with a brand that actually their goal, no matter what, is we want it to be able to be a net positive for everybody that takes it, and we will not jeopardize quality in any which way, shape, or form. So then also helping you guys learn how to manage, don't overspend,
Yeah.
because not everything that's more expensive is also the better ingredient. It's selecting the right ingredient for your formula with quality, potency, and purity.
Yeah, and you've helped us manage that, because we came in and we said, here's the laundry list of things, and you said, well, you might not need that because you already have these other two things, and they work
The
together synergistically. and
Yep, the
and
more is better fallacy. Yep.
yeah, and I mean, even one of the more recent ones, well, I guess it all the way back from the beginning, like we want a really good fiber to help with digestion and things, but then we had also all these good botanicals in there that have naturally occurring fibers, and then you said, well, and then there's gasiness, and so we need this probiotic that's going to help manage that. And I've been amazed at the complexity that you've helped
Yeah.
thread the needle on.
Well, a formula is not just how it interplays conceptually,
Yeah,
right? That's a concept formula. It's how a formula actually is consumed and interplays in the human body is
yeah,
the most important thing that you need to consider when you are formulating, because again, is it going to make somebody uncomfortable by taking it? Because then they're not going to want to take it
right.
in anymore. It's just making them uncomfortable. How can we negate that, or how can we even prevent it? In some cases, you just can't negate it. That it is what it is. It's part of the formula until the human body goes through its natural rebalancing, and then it will not have that experience anymore. But it's also educating you if that's what you need to expect with this formula to get them from where they are now to where you want them to be at. And so it is a lot of education and collaboration.
So that said, is there any part of this project or this product that you're most proud of?
I would say probably the whole project.
Yeah.
Looking
That
at
just
it,
that you've been able to pull off something this complex?
it is
Yeah.
complex, 54 ingredients, but it's more so um the excitement with when it actually hits market and seeing the value that it's going to add to people's lives. I mean, looking at it from a science standpoint and a manufacturer standpoint and a formulator standpoint, I know the value of each individual ingredient. I know the value of this synergistic sub blends and then of the whole blend added in. And then once the value that you have for the education that the core team is
Yeah.
going to provide, it's just elevating the science behind that formula 10 times more. And so I'm very excited for the whole formula, and I can't wait to see it hit market when it finally does.
People have been excited. You've invited us to some places where we've been able to interact with people in the industry, and I don't know if it's because they're talking to people that they might do business with, and they're like, trying to make us feel good. But the reception has been really phenomenal. People have been excited about the combination of the what is in the product, the quality and the sourcing of it, but then the whole ecosystem of support to help people
Yeah.
improve their life around it.
Well, it's not the great thing is that your formula, people could look at it quite easily and just shake it off and go, they're trying to do a one-stop shop, everything under one umbrella. And that's not the true concept behind the Core 7.
Right.
It's really to get the body back to status quo.
Right.
Like get it to have
Let's get you to the base
a
level.
baseline, and then build your lifestyle above and beyond that baseline through education, right? And continued support. So it's very different than a lot of the other ingredients or the formulas out there that are like, I will be able to cure every symptom if you take this one supplement once a day. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
The other benefit of this, or the other thing that I really love about this supplement, is when I was formulating it, I took into consideration additional supplementations that people may want to take as they move through lifestyles, and how is it going to be synergistic for future formulas, which is very hard to take into consideration of a formula that's not fully formulated yet. But how is this current formula going to potentially interact with that future formula, and is it going to be, again, a net positive or a net negative? And will you be able to offer more things to help people through various stages in their lifestyle or their life cycle by adding additional opportunities or supplements to it? And the answer is, with this formula, you can.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Maybe foreshadowing of good things to come. We're calling it core because it is that foundational nutritional gap filler. And then you going through these different stages, whether it's a women's health focused product or a mental health focused product, adding these boost products that we've brainstormed together. We're excited. So good things to come for people to pay attention.
It definitely is. And it's very hard to find a base formula that is going to be synergistic and accommodating to so many other boosters or upstreams that you may want to add in, and still continue to just level up that baseline.
Yeah, in a more targeted way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so has there been any particular, there's been a bunch of interesting stories. We won't tell all of them.
Yes.
But trying to source some of these ingredients is complicated and hard. Are there any that have been, just maybe one example of one of the ingredients that's been particularly challenging to try to source and find and test and make sure it's right?
Oh, I would say probably the sourcing would be definitely looking at the vegan vitamin D. It's in high demand and it's hard to find, especially with the purity level that we wanted to find it. That was a very challenging one, especially when we started sourcing it right during the middle of the Tariff War. Right.
Yeah, that was an interesting part.
That was an interesting part of this, of trying to get all of this going in a short amount of time with the Tariff War going on, supply chain restrictions, and also making sure that regardless, we can have supply chain consistency for future batches. That one was very challenging. And then diving into weaving in targeted trademarked ingredients to leverage clinicals that made sense for your formula, and
Mm.
also helping you guys understand that not everything needed to be clinical,
Right.
right? There's plentiful information on what we consider conventional, which is non-clinical or trademarked ingredients out there, or even
Meaning there's not a
organics.
study that somebody's paid for on this particular sourced ingredient because there's conventional knowledge that it has these good positive
Yes,
benefits.
100%. Yeah. And leveraging those and trusting that tried and true practices and methodology that those ingredients were used for in that formulation. So that was more challenging to find those targeted trademarked ingredients that weren't going to overshadow the value of the formula, but just be, again, another net positive and add an addition, a positive addition without overshadowing, because now you have a trademarked story that you have to tell as well.
Yeah. I would love for you to highlight a couple of things that I think were fun and unique. So a couple of the ingredients like ahi flour. So
Yes.
we came and we're like, we need omegas. Omegas are a big deal,
Yes.
but we don't want it to taste like fish, and you can't put an oil in the powder and whatever else. And so you came up with this solution for us.
Yeah, so ahi powder is an oil. It's actually an oil derived into a powder, and I love it because what it does is it has naturally occurring SDA and GLA in it. SDA, the body converts quite easily into EPA. It also has naturally occurring high levels of omega 3, 6, and 9 fatty acids in it. So it's one of the more fun ingredients that we get to use because it's new to the industry. It's reliably sourced. It has no smell. It has no taste. So even for flavoring, taking into
No
consideration
little fishy
no fishy
burps.
burps,
Yeah.
but you're still getting it. But you're also, the SDA and GLA helps train the body to convert these into EPA, which your body needs
So
help
we really
training to
need,
convert
yeah.
that, right? You don't just want to continue to add in additional supplementation. You want to train your body how to do this on its own. And that's part of what the core program does, or the core
Or
core
seven
seven
product. Mhm.
seven product. It's going to help with the probiotics, even the probiotics we selected. It's helping train the body how to do it on its own.
So exciting to me.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
How about, I made a couple other notes that I'd just love
Yeah.
you to reflect on. So where we got the magnesium and some of those minerals, I think that was also kind of a fun one.
Yes. So the magnesium is actually coming from Aquaman. Aquaman magnesium is a naturally occurring magnesium derived from the Irish seacoast. What I love about Aquaman is it has trace minerals. Trace minerals help with the bioavailability of the magnesium plus all of the other minerals that you're getting. So it's a synergistic magnesium that's helping your body continue to absorb all of the other magnesium, or all of the other minerals that we're putting in, as well as the vitamins.
And K2.
K2, the Vital K2. So the Vital K2 is very unique. It's a Vital K2. It's fermented. So it's one of the fermented ingredients we decided to go with. It's a very potent form of MK7. Now, what's great about the core formula is that it has naturally occurring vitamin K1, which is extremely hard to find, and it is naturally occurring. Your body needs that. It's always deficient on MK1 or vitamin K1. MK7, and having a more potent form of MK7 versus MK4 is going to be the difference of key attributes like brain function and things like that.
So for people like me that are kind of like dummy novice consumers on looking at this stuff, I mean, I hope this conversation is just highlighting, man, it was creative and really intentional. Like you found some really neat, novel sources, at least to us, that we don't see commonly, to allow us to say, hey, we don't want to ask somebody to take a separate all the time omega or K2 or whatever we want. We want this base. We want it to all be there in one thing.
Even
and you
choline.
solved that. Yeah, choline.
Choline, humans are naturally deficient in choline. Choline is very important for brain function, for vision, for things like that, for heart health. And people are now starting to pay more attention to it. So getting a choline to go into your formula that has no taste, that's able to
It's not going to taste like egg.
Exactly, have
whatever.
a high bioavailability factor to it. Again, it was selecting the correct choline that is good for consumption and synergistic with your formula. So it was many long nights of me playing at the computer, of different clinical studies pulled up and archives of data on conventional ingredients, and looking at the synergy between them, reaching out to scientists in the industry going, this is my thought process. Can you just fact check it and make sure that I'm on the right track? Multiple times, and then coming back to the Core 7 team going, I changed your formula slightly. Again, this is how I changed it. This is why I changed it. And you guys just being very receptive to those changes, understanding that even when I took out some ingredients, understanding that is why we actually took them out, is the overlap. They weren't necessary. And again, going back to more is not always better.
Right.
What you need is what you need for the human body.
When you've been very good about kind of respecting the things that were non-negotiable for us, and then finding creative solutions, and then pushing back when some of the things we were asking for were actually out of alignment with what standards we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Which has been awesome.
And also understanding what you guys really wanted to accomplish too, and added benefits that you weren't considering in the beginning. So like highlighting marshmallow root
Right.
for healthy gut lining, right? So we can throw in as many probiotics and nutrients that we want, but what's going to increase the absorption and increase bioavailability naturally in the human body, even of food, is a healthy gut lining. The marshmallow root in your formula is helping to do that.
Yeah.
So
that was a fun addition that was your idea towards the end of the formulation process. How about testing? I know you've already kind of alluded to some of the processes that a product like this goes through. And as we kind of round out the conversation, I'd love you to just reflect on what is happening now. So we've got all these ingredients in your warehouse.
Yep.
They've blended them. How do we make sure that they're safe, they're high quality, we're having the intended output?
Yes. So what we do is from the moment it comes into our door, we are required by FDA to test micros, metals, and potency if potency is required.
Ingredient by ingredient, every single one.
Ingredient. So 54 ingredients. Yes. Then from there, we do your sub blends, and then the sub blends have a certain output that they need to do. So in this, most recently, was a botanical blend, and we wanted to know what the naturally occurring vitamins and minerals from the botanicals are, because that is going to impact other additional vitamins and minerals that we do. So taking that sub blend, weighing it out, blending it, making sure that the blend process is adequate, so it's fully blended, so when it goes to testing, it doesn't get pockets of false testing results, that it's actually a true testing panel, but doing a full panel testing on it, which takes 30 days to run a full panel testing on fiber, testing on metals, because this is not individual metals. Now you have to look at metals for all of these naturally occurring botanicals, as well as some of the minerals that have naturally occurring metals, and making sure that we're still in a safe zone for metals. Then micros is another one with botanicals. Botanicals, especially organic, are exposed to higher levels of micros. So not just taking an individual calculation, but the collective calculation of all of the ingredients, combined with making sure that your probiotics have the CFU count that are high enough to help hit a 2+ year shelf life with the correct overages.
Because they're alive, and over time they'll die.
Especially in a botanical blend, is one as rich as yours, and making sure that the probiotics actually work together synergistically to have a better outcome than negatively against each other in the human body and cause adverse reactions. Then looking at the digestive blend and making sure the digestive blend is formulated with the same quality of ingredients, but are complementary to the probiotics, as well as to the botanical blend, that it was strong enough to help with the botanical blend and the digestion of the fiber and all of those things.
So, I mean, you can see how going through, even for a single ingredient type product, like there's still so many steps, but man, a project like this, just not for the faint of heart.
It is
there's
not
so many steps,
especially for a brand side. It is you have to bear with your manufacturer, especially one that really is keeping to your quality, because we can't control the outcomes of the testing, and we're going to be honest and transparent. And if you have a good manufacturer, they won't allow something to pass that goes even underneath their quality standards, let alone yours. So expect bumps in the road. With everything, expect bumps in the road. Understand that retesting is a natural part of any formulation, of any nutraceutical. Retesting does not mean that it's bad. It just means that we need to validate data and decide what happens or what doesn't.
Not going to cut any corners or take any shortcuts. You got to make sure that what we are hoping to accomplish, we can accomplish with the product.
And in cases like with Core 7, it will cause delays in release dates. But again, the quality behind this product is so high that it's going to be pushed out just a little bit longer to make sure we can maintain that.
Well, we're tremendously proud of, and hopefully people that are listening, the intent is not just so people get excited about Core 7, but they're educated on this space and some of the good things and exciting things and things to look out for and the complexities of this space. But also I hope people do get a sense of, man, we are immensely proud of the work that you have helped us to do in this project. And we're tremendously excited for people to get access to this product, because I do think it's kind of unique and it's different, and there's
It is
nothing
very
we've been
unique.
able to find things like it.
No, it is very unique, and it's not going to be replicated because of the level of layers to the formulation. And I'm not saying that there's no transparency. You guys are fully transparent of everything, but just how each ingredient has to work individually as well as together, as well as with the collective whole.
And to source it, I mean, even if somebody did want to say, hey, I want that same thing, to go out and source it, it's
from the
just
same exact area,
it's a big
same
project.
supply chain. Yeah. And looking at all of that, and then having the collaboration of all of the suppliers. I'm very excited. You guys have an amazing product coming out. You haven't even touched on the probiotics, but that's a story in of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's,
I mean, the fiber, like the source of the probiotics and the benefits and the synergistic benefits of them and the amount of them and the source of the fiber and the vitamin B, like it's just, there's so many exciting parts of this story to tell.
yeah.
And I'm look forward to maybe going, as you suggested before we started recording, part by part, blend by blend, ingredient by ingredient. We could have a whole hour-long conversation on many of them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it just goes to education, whether it's for your product or other products. That education is always important to get out in the industry.
Okay. So I'm sure there's going to be somebody listening to this who's feeling like, I feel like I'm hopeless because this is a complicated space and I don't know how to tell what's good and what's bad, and tried to maybe shine a light on some things, educational things today that will help them with that. But as we get ready to close, I would love, we call it ideas in action, but if you have any kind of parting advice, little things people can do to start to improve their health, kind of considering the space of supplementation.
Again, ask the hard questions. Ask yourself the hard questions. Try to find your root cause and leverage your doctor or a nutritionalist. They will help you find the root cause. Once you know what that root cause is, you can look at what supplements you need to support enhancing that root cause. So that would be step 1. Step 2, education. Demand education. Ask the brands. Ask your doctors.
Send them an email from the website if you're curious.
Ask nutritionalists. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask me a question.
Sarah Bega, Bega. You'll see it in the show notes.
Ask the questions. If you don't ask the questions, you're not going to get the answers, right? And the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to be an answer that you don't like. So ask the question, get the answers, educate yourself, because when you educate yourself, you are going to be more confident in what you're taking, and you're going to make the right choices in what you take. And the right choices are going to lead to improving your life.
I think this is an interesting space, the kind of ethos of the moment societally. There's things that are pushing this to more of the forefront. And I just am excited for the space. I'm grateful for people like you that have, invested a good chunk of your life into becoming expert in these areas and helping bring great products to the market. And so I hope as people listen to this, one, there's an opportunity, if you're interested to learn more, you can subscribe on a website. If you're interested in supplements and learning more of, even as a business, making so Health Genesis, Sarah works at Health Genesis, great company. But on the Ampelis website, you can go, or getcore7.com. You can subscribe for a pre-launch offering and discounts, and use the promo code podcast for a discount. And maybe with that, I'll just say thank you for not just for this conversation, but for all of your help and the irreplaceable role that you've played in this whole project. It's been a game changer for us.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. And like I said, I'm excited to see it launch, and I'll be getting my pre-order in soon too. So.
Well, thank you, Sarah. We sure appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Good morning. For the first day in a long time, don't feel like watching from the sidelines. Yeah, I'm waking with the sunrise. Get a taste of the daylight.